I didn't plan to die that October. But when I found my husband's notebook, death seemed like the only way out. Let me back up. My name is Margaret, and for 35 years, I thought I had a good marriage. Robert and I met at a charity gala in Portland back in 1989. He was a financial advisor. I was running my mother's antique boutique on Hawthorne Boulevard. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had our routines, our Friday date nights, our Sunday morning coffee on the porch. Looking back now, I wonder if comfort was all we ever had. It was a Saturday afternoon in late September when everything changed. I was cleaning out the garage, preparing for our annual yard sale. Robert had left for his golf game at Eastmoreland, same as every weekend. I was sorting through boxes of old tax documents when I found it, a leather-bound notebook wedged behind a filing cabinet. At first, I thought it was just another planner. Robert had dozens of them from over the years, but this one was different. It was new, the leather still stiff, and when I opened it, I saw dates. Recent dates. September 3rd, confirmed life insurance increase to $750K. M signed without reading. Good. My hand started shaking. M. That was me. Margaret. September 10th, C agrees. Says she's tired of working for M anyway. Resents taking orders. Perfect partner. C? Caroline? My assistant at the boutique? The woman I'd mentored for 3 years? Who I'd helped through her divorce? Who I'd trusted with everything? I sat down on an old paint can, my legs suddenly weak. Keep reading, Margaret. You need to know. September 15th. Route planned. Cascade Highway. Mile marker 47. Blind curve. No guardrail. Accident will look natural. C will be witness. Saw M drinking before drive. Perfect alibi. September 20th. Timetable. November 10th. C and I marry next September. M's boutique inventory worth $200K. Combined with insurance and house, we clear $1 to M. Finally free. The notebook slipped from my hands. November 10th. That was 6 weeks away. My husband of 35 years was planning to murder me, and my trusted assistant was helping him. I should have screamed. I should have called the police right then. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the shock, or maybe it was something deeper, a cold rage that settled into my bones like ice. They thought I was just comfortable, predictable Margaret. They thought I'd be an easy victim. They were wrong. I took my phone out with trembling hands and photographed every page of that notebook, 23 pages of detailed planning, insurance documents, maps with routes marked in red, notes about my schedule, my habits. They'd been watching me for months. Then I put the notebook back exactly where I'd found it. Robert came home at 6, whistling. He kissed my cheek like always, asked about my day like always, helped me make dinner like always. I smiled and chatted and set the table, and the whole time I was thinking, this man wants me dead. You okay, honey? He asked over the salmon I'd baked. You seem quiet. Just tired, I said. Long day at the boutique. Maybe you should think about retiring, he said, reaching for the wine. We're not getting any younger. Could sell the business, travel more. Sell the business. Of course. So he and Caroline could have the money sooner. Maybe you're right, I said, watching him carefully. His face lit up. Really? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. We've earned some rest, Margaret. Earned. The word made my stomach turn. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to him snore. This was the man I'd shared my life with. We'd weathered my mother's death together, his father's stroke, my hysterectomy, his heart scare 5 years ago. I'd held his hand through all of it. And he'd been planning to push my car off a cliff. Monday morning, I called in sick to the boutique. Told Caroline I had the flu, would be out all week. I heard the little pause before she answered. Was she wondering if Robert had done something already? Was she disappointed I was still alive? Feel better, Margaret, she said sweetly. Don't worry about anything here. I bet she wasn't worried. She was probably already picking out wedding dresses. Instead of staying home, I drove to a private investigator's office in Beaverton. I'd found him online. James Chen, former Portland PD, specialized in domestic cases. His office was small but neat, photos of solved cases on the wall. "Mrs. Patterson," he said, shaking my hand. He was mid-40s, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "What can I do for you?" I showed him the photos of the notebook. He read through them twice, his expression growing darker. When he finished, he looked up at me with something like respect. "Most people would have gone straight to the police. Would they have believed me?" I asked. "Without more evidence? My husband is well-liked, well-connected. It's just a notebook." He could say it's fiction, research for a book, a dark joke. I need more. "What do you want me to find?" "Everything. Phone records, financial transactions, any communication between my husband and my assistant. I need to know how deep this goes." He nodded slowly. "This will take about a week, and Mrs. Patterson, be careful. If they suspect you know—" "They won't," I said. "I've been playing a role for 35 years. I can play it a little longer." The next week was the hardest of my life. I went to work, smiled at Caroline, discussed inventory and customer orders. She helped me plan a trunk show for November 15th, 5 days after I was supposed to be dead. The irony wasn't lost on me. "This will be our biggest event yet," she said, her eyes bright. "I've been working on the vendor list." "You're so good at this," I told her. "I don't know what I'd do without you." She smiled. "You've taught me everything, Margaret." Except how not to be a murderer, apparently. At home, Robert was unusually attentive, bringing me flowers, suggesting we take a drive up to the gorge that weekend. I checked the calendar, mile marker 47 on Cascade Highway. He was rehearsing. "Maybe next weekend," I said. "I'm still feeling under the weather." The concern on his face looked so genuine. How long had he been practicing that expression? James called on Friday. "I have everything. You should come in." His office felt smaller this time, the walls closing in as he spread documents across his desk. "They've been planning this for 8 months, he said. "Started right after you made Caroline your assistant manager. Here, text messages between them." I read through them, my coffee going cold in my hand. "Robert, she gave C another raise. Guilt money, makes her feel generous." "Caroline, I smile and thank her like a good little employee. Can't wait to own that boutique." "Robert, patience, November 10th. Then it's all ours." "There's more," James said gently. "He increased your life insurance 6 months ago, changed his beneficiary from his sister to himself. Took out a second policy you don't know about. Another $500K. And he's been liquidating your joint investments, moving money to an offshore account." "How much has he moved?" $180,000 so far." I felt sick. Can the police stop this? With what we have? They could investigate, but proving intent to murder is difficult. The notebook could be dismissed. The affair, he paused delicately. "Affair?" "They've been sleeping together for 7 months. Hotel records, credit card statements. But adultery isn't attempted murder. And the financial moves? He's your husband. He has legal access to joint accounts. A good lawyer could argue he was just planning to divorce you. But the notebook is not a crime until he acts. We need him to make a move, Mrs. Patterson. We need to catch him in the act." I stared at the pile of evidence. All this proof, and it wasn't enough. "What if I give him the opportunity?" I said slowly. James looked at me. "What are you thinking?" "He wants me dead in a car accident. What if I give him exactly that?" That's when I told him my plan. He thought I was crazy at first. Then he started making notes. By the time I left his office, we had a timeline, a team, and a very dangerous game to play. October 15th. I told Robert I wanted to take a solo trip to the coast, clear my head, do some antiquing for the boutique. "Alone?" he asked, and I saw the calculation in his eyes. "Just for a few days. I need some time to think about everything, about retiring, about our future." He pulled me close. "I love you, Margaret. Whatever you decide, we'll do it together." I leaned into his chest and felt nothing. How long had I been hugging a stranger? "I love you too," I lied. I packed my bag, kissed him goodbye, and drove to the coast road. but I wasn't alone. James was in a car behind me, along with 2 of his associates and a state trooper he'd worked with for years, someone who understood what we were trying to do. At mile marker 47, exactly where Robert had marked in his notebook, I pulled over. It was a perfect spot for murder. A blind curve, a steep drop-off, trees blocking any view from the road. We'd planned everything. A rented car matching mine parked at the bottom of the ravine, a mannequin in the driver's seat, positioned for maximum impact. Fake blood, shattered glass, the whole scene. I stood at the edge, looking down at my death, and felt a strange sense of calm. "You sure about this?" James asked. "I'm sure. Make the call." He dialed 911, reported a car off the cliff, possible fatality. Then we drove to the safe house he'd arranged, a cabin 30 miles away. And we waited. Robert got the call from the state police at 3:47 p.m. I know because we'd tapped his phone. I listened to him answer, heard the officer explain that my car had been found at the bottom of a ravine, that they were searching for my body. "Oh God," Robert said, and he sounded devastated. "Oh God, no, Margaret, my Margaret." He was good. I'll give him that. He rushed to the scene, identified my car, wept when they told him they hadn't recovered a body yet, that I might have survived, and wandered off in shock. Caroline met him there. She drove up 30 minutes later, heard the news from mutual friends, and held him while he cried. The state trooper, Officer Morrison, who was in on our plan, watched them carefully. He told me later that they held hands when they thought no one was looking. That Robert whispered, "Soon, baby, soon." They organized a search party. Robert played the grieving husband perfectly, calling my friends, posting on social media, setting up a fund for search and rescue efforts. For 3 days, I watched it all unfold from the cabin. James had set up cameras everywhere. Robert's house, the boutique, Caroline's apartment. We recorded everything. On day 2, they got sloppy. Caroline came to the house late at night. I watched through the bedroom camera as they fell into bed together. 3 more months, Robert said afterward, lighting a cigarette. Then we make it official. "I can't wait to redecorate this place," Caroline said, looking around my bedroom. She had terrible taste. "Had," Robert agreed, and they both laughed. I felt James's hand on my shoulder. "We have enough. Let's end this." Day 4. I walked into my own memorial service. Robert had organized it at our church, St. Michael's on Division Street. 100 people showed up. There was a photo of me at the altar. Our wedding picture, me young and smiling and so stupid in love. Robert was at the front, Caroline beside him, offering support. They were holding programs with my face on them. I stood at the back of the church in a dark coat, and I watched my husband eulogize me. "Margaret was the love of my life," he said, voice breaking. 35 years wasn't enough. I thought we'd grow old together. I thought," he paused, wiping his eyes. "I thought I'd have more time to tell her how much she meant to me." The mourners wept. Caroline handed him a tissue, her hand lingering on his. That's when I started walking down the aisle. The first person to see me was my neighbor, Judith. She gasped, grabbed her husband's arm. Then another guest turned, and another. A wave of shock rippled through the church. Robert looked up. Our eyes met. I watched the blood drain from his face, watched him stumble backward, watched Caroline's expression shift from confusion to pure terror. "Hi, honey," I said. "Sorry I'm late to my own funeral." The room erupted. People were shouting, crying, rushing toward me. Robert just stood there, frozen. "Margaret," he finally whispered, "you're alive. Oh my God, you're alive." He started toward me, arms out, but Officer Morrison stepped in his way. "Robert Patterson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and attempted homicide." "What? This is insane." Morrison pulled out his phone, played the audio. Robert and Caroline in bed, laughing about my death, talking about the money, planning their future. Robert's face went white. Caroline tried to run, but 2 officers were already at the door. "Margaret, please," Robert begged as they cuffed him. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said. "I found your notebook. I know everything. The insurance, the offshore accounts, the affair. I know you've been stealing from me for months. I know you planned to kill me on November 10th at mile marker 47. The church was silent except for his heavy breathing. And most importantly, I continued, I know I deserve better than you. They led him away. Caroline was screaming, claiming she didn't know anything, but we had hours of recorded conversations. The evidence was overwhelming. My friends surrounded me, crying, hugging me. Judith grabbed my hands. We thought you were dead. Where have you been? Making sure justice was served, I said. The legal proceedings took 6 months. Robert was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and embezzlement. Caroline faced the same charges. The prosecutor said it was one of the clearest cases he'd ever seen. We had everything documented, recorded, witnessed. Robert's lawyer tried to argue that the notebook was fiction, that the affair was just an affair, that the financial moves were legal. But the recorded conversations killed any defense. You can't explain away laughing about your wife's death while in bed with your mistress. The jury took 3 hours to convict them both. Robert got 15 years. Caroline got 12. I got everything else. The boutique, the house, the insurance money he'd been planning to collect, the offshore accounts, all of it came back to me. His retirement fund, his investment portfolio. The court ruled that he'd forfeited any claim to marital assets when he'd attempted to murder me. I sold the house. Too many ghosts. Bought a smaller place in the Pearl District with a view of the river. I kept the boutique but hired a new manager, someone James vetted personally. On what would have been November 10th, I drove out to mile marker 47, stood at the edge where I was supposed to have died. The fall leaves were beautiful, gold and red against the gray sky. I thought about who I'd been 6 weeks earlier. Comfortable Margaret, predictable Margaret, Margaret who didn't ask too many questions. That woman was dead, and good riddance. I spread my arms wide and screamed into the wind, a primal, furious, joyful sound, the sound of someone who'd survived, who'd fought back, who'd won. An SUV slowed down, the driver looking concerned. I waved that I was fine, and he drove on. I was better than fine. I was free. Now, sitting here at 62 years old with my new life spread before me, I think about the women who aren't as lucky. The ones who don't find the notebook, who don't have the resources to fight back, who disappear off cliffs and into shallow graves while their killers collect insurance checks. I think about them, and I volunteer. I work with domestic violence organizations, help women create safety plans, fund investigations for those who can't afford them. I've helped 17 women escape dangerous situations in the past year, some from physical abuse, some from financial abuse, some from slow poison situations like mine. And I tell them what I learned. Trust your gut. Document everything. Don't be afraid to seem paranoid. Don't be afraid to fight back. But most importantly, I tell them this. You are not as powerless as they think you are. You are not as weak as they hope you are. And you are worth fighting for. Last week, I got a letter from Robert. Prison has not been kind to him. He's lost weight, lost hair, lost that confidence he always wore like cologne. He wrote that he was sorry, that he never meant for things to go so far, that he still loves me. I burned it without finishing. Caroline sent one too. Hers was all excuses. I'd never appreciated her. I'd treated her like a servant. Robert had promised her the life I'd stolen from her. I burned that one too. Some ashes need to stay ashes. These days, I wake up in my sunny Pearl District apartment and make coffee in silence. No one's there planning my murder. No one's stealing from me. No one's lying to my face while plotting behind my back. It's just me, and honestly, that's perfect. I run my boutique. I help women in need. I take road trips without looking over my shoulder. Last month, I drove up to mile marker 47 just because I could. Parked there, had a picnic lunch, read a book in the sunshine. I own that curve now. I own my whole life now. And if there's one thing I want women to know, especially women my age who think they're too old to start over, too tired to fight back, too comfortable to rock the boat, it's this. It's never too late to refuse to be a victim. It's never too late to demand justice. It's never too late to choose yourself. I thought I was planning my death that October. Turns out, I was planning my rebirth. And let me tell you, being alive on my own terms is so much sweeter than being comfortable in a lie.